The morning sun peeked over the hills of Iluaro, casting a golden glow on the yam fields. Okanlawon wiped the sweat off his brow, his own resting against the fresh mound he had just dug. Ah, my yam will be the envy of the market this year, he said to himself, patting the soil lovingly. He was about to take a big swig from his calabash of palm wine when a frantic voice interrupted his pace. Whoa! Whoa is upon us! Shouted Jegede, the town crier, as he banged his talking drum with wild abandon. His oversized agbada fluttered as he ran through the village square, his voice louder than the roaster that always woke Okanlawon up late. The villagers poured out of their homes, clutching brooms, pestles, and in one curious case, a cooking pot. Okanlawon groaned, "This better not be another gold stealing incident." Jegede puffed out his chest, his face gleaming with the excitement of being the bearer of dramatic news. Ibadan warriors are coming. The Ekiti-Parapo elders have called for every able-bodied man to join the army. If you are not on the battlefield in 2 days, they'll drag you there by your ears. The crowd erupted into chaos. Some shouted, others fainted, and a few dashed off in different directions, including one man who dove into an empty well. Me, a soldier. Okanlawon muttered. He looked down at his yam mound and sighed. What have I done to deserve this punishment? 2 days later, Okanlawon stood in the training ground, his oar replaced with a blunt spear. Surrounding him were other reluctant recruits, including Adegbite, the town butcher, who kept muttering about how much better he was at cutting meat than fighting enemies. Form a straight line, bellowed Commander Agbaji, a stocky man with a voice that could shatter calabashes. His idea of a straight line looked more like a drunken snake, but nobody dared to point it out. First lesson, Agbaji roared, pacing back and forth. How to dodge cannonballs. When you hear Kirijo boom, you dive. What if the cannonball lands on you before you dive? Asked Okanlawon, raising his hand. Agbaji squinted at him. Then your ancestors will dodge for you. Now dive. On command, the recruits leaped in all directions. Okanlawon's dive landed him headfirst into a pile of yam peelings, earning him uproarious laughter from Adegbite. Meanwhile, Ayetoro, the blacksmith, wheeled out his latest invention, a contraption that looks like a giant slingshot. Behold, the warrior catapult. Ayetoro announced proudly. With this, we can launch our men straight into enemy camps. No need to march for days. What happens when they land? Asked Adegbite, scratching his head. Oh, that's where their training comes in. Ayetoro replied, not entirely convincingly. The first test subject was, of course, Okanlawon. He was strapped in against his will, screaming, "This is not part of the young farmers' agreement!" Before being launched into the air, the entire camp watched as it disappeared over the treetops, only to land in a chicken coop in the next village. The chickens squawked in protest as Okanlawon emerged covered in feathers. The battlefield was alive with the sound of drums, chants, and the occasional sneeze from a soldier who had used too much pepper soup the night before. Chief Badamosi arrived on a heavily decorated horse, waving a fan as if he was attending a royal festival, rather than leading an army. His booming voice echoed across the field. Warriors of Ibadan, today we shall show these Ekiti farmers who the real... Sudden cannon blast interrupted his speech, sending him toppling off his horse. Who fired? I'm not ready, he yelled, dusting himself off as his men tried to stifle their laughter. On the Ekiti side, Okanlawon crouched behind a bush, clutching his blunt spear. Beside him, Baba Alagbada handed out charms wrapped in leaves. Rub these on your chest, the herbalist said. It will make you invisible. Okanlawon complied, only to find himself glowing faintly in the dim light. Invisible, he muttered. More like lantern. As the cannon fire resumed, Okanlawon decided to take matters into his own hands. He grabbed a yam tuber from the nearby field and hurled it at the Ibadan warriors. To everyone's surprise, it hit an enemy soldier square in the forehead, knocking him out cold. The Ekiti warriors erupted in cheers. The Yam Striker, they chanted, lifting Okanlawon to their shoulders. He tried to protest, but the nickname stuck. The celebration didn't last long. Word spread that the Ibadan warriors were preparing a secret ambush. In the Ekiti camp, Ajoke the Spy stepped forward, her lips curved in a mischievous smile. Leave this to me, she said, adjusting her colorful headscarf. Ajoke was famous for her sharp wit and ability to outsmart anyone, even the chiefs who underestimated her. Disguised as a wandering trader, Ajoke entered the Ibadan camp with a basket of charms and sweets. She called out, Magic charms! Guaranteed to make you unbeatable in battle. Curious warriors gathered around her. Chief Gbadamosi himself emerged, puffing his chest as he examined the wares. Do you have anything that makes cannonballs miss their target? He asked. Ajoke held up a bottle of palm oil. Rub this on your belly, and no cannonball will touch you. The warriors eagerly bought her entire stock, smearing themselves with palm oil until they glistened like freshly cooked plantains. Ajoke returned to the Ekiti camp, laughing so hard she could barely explain what happened. The next day, the Ibadan ambush failed miserably. The greasy warriors slipped and stumbled, turning the battlefield into a comedy show. Even the Ekiti warriors couldn't fight properly because they were doubled over with laughter. With both sides exhausted and bruised, more from laughter than actual combat, an unexpected event unfolded. Okanlawon, still clutching his weaponized yam tubers, stumbled upon a lush yam field smack in the middle of the battlefield. Why waste perfectly good yams on war? He muttered. Taking matters into his own hands, he began digging up the yams, setting up a makeshift fire pit to roast them. The delicious aroma wafted across the battlefield, catching the attention of both Ekiti and Ibadan warriors. Hunger and curiosity drew them closer, weapons forgotten as they watched Okanlawon flip yams over the fire with the precision of a seasoned chef. Who dares to feast in the middle of a war? Chief Gbadamosi bellowed, arriving on his now reluctant horse. But the sight of golden roasted yams silenced his anger. His stomach growled loudly, betraying him. Come and eat, my chief, Okanlawon said, gesturing to the yams. There is no enemy in the face of hunger. The chiefs from both sides cautiously approached, followed by their soldiers. Soon, the battlefield turned into a grand yam feast. with warriors from both camps sharing laughter and stories around the fire. Even Ajoke couldn't resist adding her own spices to the yams, earning cheers for her culinary skills. As the sun set, the leaders agreed to a truce over roasted yams and palm wine. They decided to settle their disputes through a wrestling match instead of war, much to the relief of their weary armies. News of the truce spread like wildfire. The following day, the battlefield was transformed into an arena, complete with makeshift seating for warriors and villagers who had gathered to watch the showdown. Drums thundered and cheers erupted as Ibadan Ekiti chiefs entered the arena to announce their champions. Chief Gbadamosi stepped forward, flexing his arms dramatically. "Behold our warrior, Balogun Shango!" A towering figure emerged, his muzzles gleaming under the sun, his face painted with fierce designs. He pounded his chest and roared, sending a flock of birds scattering. The Ekiti side fell silent. Their champion, Adebayo the wrestler, had conveniently fallen ill after overindulging in roasted yams the night before. Panic spread through the camp as the Ekiti warriors looked for a replacement. "I nominate Okanlawon," Ajoke said, grinning mischievously. "Me? No, I'm a yam farmer, not a wrestler. No, I am a yam farmer." Okanlawon protested, but before he could escape, he was hoisted onto the shoulders of his comrades and carried into the arena. The crowd roared as Okanlawon faced off against Balogun Shango. The Ibadan warrior towered over him, flexing his muscles and cracking his knuckles menacingly. Okanlawon, on the other hand, clutched a small yam tuber in his hand like a talisman. The drum signaled the start of the match. Balogun Shango launched forward, but Okanlawon, relying on sheer instinct, ducked and rolled away. The crowd gasped as Balogun stumbled, giving Okanlawon a chance to throw his yam tuber at the warrior's head. It hit its mark with satisfying thud, leaving Balogun momentarily dazed. What followed was a series of comical exchanges. Okanlawon's unorthodox moves, which included slipping between Balogun's legs, tripping him with a stray vine, and accidentally landing on his opponent's back, left the crowd in stitches. Even Balogun couldn't help but laugh at the absurdity of it all. Finally, in a moment of pure luck, Okanlawon managed to pin Balogun down, his hand accidentally pressing into a pressure point that left the Ibadan warrior unable to move. The referee, barely able to contain his laughter, declared Okanlawon the winner. The Ekiti camp erupted into wild celebration, chanting, "The Yam Striker reigns supreme!" With the wrestling match over and Okanlawon hailed as hero, the chiefs of Ibadan and Ekiti met in the middle of arena, both laughing heartily. Chief Gbadamosi, still wiping tears of laughter from his eyes, said, "This has been the most entertaining battle I've ever fought. Let us settle this war, not with swords, but with yam feast and wrestling matches." Olowo Poroku of Ekiti nodded, raising his calabash of palm wine. "Agreed. From this day forth, let there be no war between our people. Instead, let us compete in the art of farming, cooking, and wrestling. May the best yam farmer win." The crowd erupted in cheers as the chiefs exchanged roasted yams as a symbol of their truce. Okanlawon was dragged forward to receive a special title, the Guardian of Yams and Peace. though he protested, saying he just wanted to go back to his farm. His name became a legend. Songs were sung about the yam farmer who ended a war with roasted yams and unorthodox wrestling moves. The battlefield turned feasting ground was renamed Ile-Egbe, land of laughter, to honor the day peace was achieved through humor and food. As for Okanlawon, he finally returned to his yam farm, only to find it swarmed with visitors eager to learn his warrior farming techniques. Sighing, he grabbed his hoe and said, "All I wanted was a quiet life. But if yams can end the war, who am I to complain?" And so, the legend of Okanlawon, the Yam Striker, lived on, proving that sometimes the simplest things, like a roasted yam, can change the course of history.